Ladies and gentlemen, our presentation is set to begin. Sal, please go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sal Salamone, an editor at Quinn Street Enterprise, and thanks for joining us today for our web seminar, 5 Key Components to Improve Service and Maintenance Costs with a Standard Operating Environment. It's a very timely topic, and I know you're eager to hear our speakers, but just before we get to the presentation, I wanted to go over some housekeeping items. We want this to be an interactive presentation, so we encourage you to ask questions at any time during the presentation. We'll have time at the end for a Q&A. Also, the slides are pretty dense, some of them. There's a lot of good information. Rather than having to scribble everything down, you can pay attention to the speakers and just download a copy of a PDF of the slides by hitting the Save to Folder icon. Additionally, if you like to share information while you're in listening to the seminar with colleagues or whatever, you don't have to leave the console. We have social media tools built right into the platforms. If you just hit the appropriate icons, you can do that directly from the console. So with that, I'd like to just talk a little bit about who's speaking today. We have 2 speakers. We have Dirk Herman, who is head of strategic consulting, and he has a long time experience with Linux. He's been working with Linux since 1999, has been at Red Hat since 2008, has a very strong background in the field. Many of you may have encountered him if you've done any work with the company in the past. Joining him is Marty Wesley. He's a Senior Principal Product Marketing Manager Platform at Red Hat. Marty also has comparable years of service and expertise in the Linux field, and particularly with Red Hat's offering. With that, I'd like to just turn this over to Marty, and he'll pass it off to Dirk about halfway through, and then I'll join back for the Q&A session at the end. So, Marty, take it away.
Thanks, Sal. So first, I just want to give you a quick agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the rising costs of IT and how those are impacting companies. We'll describe a little bit of the standard operating environment and how that helps control costs and improve efficiency. We'll talk specifically about standardizing with Red Hat and how that works. We'll go over some customer results and talk a little bit about how Red Hat can help you implement your own standardized operating environment. And then there'll be time for questions and answers at the end. So first, we want to take a look at why does a standard operating environment make sense? Well, if you look at it, IT costs, most studies find that around 60% of IT infrastructure costs are actually labor. They're the people and resources that you need to maintain, care, administer, manage the systems that you are deploying and that you already have deployed. And what happens is without a standard operating environment, you actually introduce more complexity into your IT infrastructure. And that more complexity leads to higher labor costs. So if you want to look at specifically like what does the cost of complexity, what is the impact of that, you have a variety of problems that lead to higher costs. One of them is you have increased downtime. The increased downtime isn't necessarily because of poor hardware or software. What it is when there is a fault, and inevitably there is, even in the best run environments, because you don't have a standard operating environment, you have to spend more time searching for what was the problem, tracking down the issue, figuring out how to rectify it, and then actually implementing the fix. Moreover, you're not sure whether that issue is going to impact other aspects of your environment because, again, they're not standardized. So you're not sure if that's a one-off event or if that's something that's going to have a broader impact. You have management challenges and security concerns, management and maintenance, as well as applying security patches. If you have a disparate environment, you're going to have to do more analysis to figure out which patches, which security patches have to be applied to which systems, and then actually the impact of rolling those patches and security updates out is more complicated because you don't have a standard way of deploying them. Disparate processes that function whenever you have to do standard routine actions like taking backups or routine maintenance on hardware or software. Each system or each set of systems could have their own set of processes that you have to follow. Again, this makes it more complicated for your IT staff. They have to know exactly which systems they're working on, what the processes are for that. If they make a mistake, that could cause other problems. Other things are delayed provisioning and even interoperability issues. Delayed provisioning is whenever your business customers ask you for additional resources or additional applications, because you don't have a standard way of doing builds and deployments, you end up reinventing the wheel. You end up redoing what you've already done. And that, of course, can lead to interoperability issues because you have all of these disparate systems that maybe aren't communicating in the same way. And as a result of that, how do you compensate? You have to add to your IT staff. You basically have to have a large IT staff to handle all of this additional manual work. Now, if you want to look at the benefits to a standard operating environment, the biggest one obviously is just a simplified infrastructure. By having standard hardware configurations, standard operating system configurations, standard backup procedures, standard management procedures, and even go so far as to standardize as many applications as you can, you've simplified things so that you have just a few variables that you have to consider. This makes it easier to manage and administer, as we've already talked about, and you have less downtime. When a problem strikes, you can quickly isolate it because you're looking at common systems and common configurations. So you can use what you know from other systems to help isolate the fault, and you know whether that fault is likely to happen on other systems in your environment. Once you have standardization, of course, you can then start looking for ways in which you can automate systems and processes. That'll gain you your IT staff efficiency. And all of this basically leads to higher productivity. And when you have higher productivity, obviously your IT staff doesn't need to be as large. That drives down your IT costs. And by having these standard processes, a lot of which are automated, you can actually deploy systems faster. That helps improve your business agility. So this is just a next slide. It's just a graphical illustration of what we mean by a standard operating environment. On the left, you basically have a non-standard environment. You can see while you may have common hardware, you have different, say, drivers or OS involved, and certainly different applications. You have different management processes and management tools to handle all of these various different systems. And this is, impacts your IT staff, particularly because they have to know what all these differences are. Now, we've illustrated them here with nice colors so that you can kind of pick out which ones are common. But if you go into your data center and you have a rack of servers, they're not color-coded for you to be able to tell which ones are which. And certainly when your administrator is sitting at a console, or looking at it in a management tool, they're not necessarily color-coded so that you can group them appropriately. Now on the right, we've built out what a standard operating environment would look like. And you can see on the outside of it are standard operating processes. So these are the steps that your IT staff have to take to do anything on those systems, whether it's add a new user, take a backup, add a storage volume. Those processes are defined, and because they're standard across all the systems, all of your IT staff know them and can execute them quickly. Layered inside of that is a standard management tool set. Again, because you have common systems that work on common processes, you can automate them, and you can add those automated processes into your management and use a common tool set to implement them across all of those systems. And again, the biggest impact on this is on productivity and on system uptime. So to just summarize, the benefits of simplicity of having a standard operating environment, reduce downtime and improve productivity for your staff. You can improve your responsiveness to your business customers. We talked about increasing the security that you have because you can be sure that you're patching the systems that you need with the correct security and updates. And all of that basically helps reduce your help desk requests and help desk workload and gives your staff higher efficiency. And that higher efficiency is demonstrated in the number of IT staff or administrators you have to systems that they basically have to administer. All of this is leading to lower operational costs for you. So to just summarize all of that information from a customer quote, this quote comes from a Linux platform manager, someone who has actually implemented Linux in large-scale environments and done so in a standardized way. And these are his words. He would say, from the beginning, to work to provide a highly standardized environment because it impacts your operational costs. And you can see their numbers there. They have 35 employees handling over 2,000 Linux instances 24 hours a day, every 7 days a week. That's the kind of scale that standardization can bring. That's the kind of cost savings that standardization can bring. And you can see, he says, you can't have that if you have 1,000 different ways of setting up a cluster or 2,000 different ways of setting up a backup. So with that background, I want to turn it over to Dirk, where he can tell you a little bit about how you can actually go about implementing a standard operating environment. Dirk?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Marty. This is Dirk Hammond speaking. And I would like to talk a little bit more detailed about the implementation of an SOE offering. So usually the implementation can be broken up into 4 different steps. So the first step is the assessment phase. Usually we are doing here an analysis of the actual state, so an assessment of your infrastructure, which means standardization maturity assessment, an architecture maturity assessment, and security and risk assessment, and we are refining your requirements and prioritize them. The outputs of this phase are usually a detailed and agreed with our customer target architecture, a project plan, and also an agreed and detailed training and enablement plan as well. So the second step usually in such an implementation is the core build definition. The core build is one of the key elements of an SOE implementation. It's the defined core for all Red Hat Enterprise Linux systems, so the smallest common denominator, and usually integrates required third-party and custom components, so like for backup, monitoring, scheduling, and so on. It's typically based on a minimal installation and also defines basic security and compliance configuration as well. And it's flexible and complete to run in all different target environments the customer has. The third step is the implementation of the SOE itself and migrating the system into the new environment, which means we are setting up the agreed system management infrastructure. We are defining and implementing the required workflows and the underlying technical implementation for automation. And then we are moving step by step the systems into this new environment and standardizing at the same time. All the stuff we are doing or part of it is the ongoing knowledge transfer. So probably the most important investment today is investment into the heads of our employees or your employees, their knowledge and their skills. So the knowledge transfer is usually a combination of Red Hat training offerings, different workshops, documentation, and also project reviews and lessons learned we are doing during the implementation as well. So if we simply have a look at this powerful combination of Red Hat, of Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Red Hat Satellites. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the operating system, and the according system management platform is a perfect and powerful combination to achieve the main goals of a SOE implementation. standardization, automation, operational efficiency, and cost reduction, especially regarding total cost of ownership. So Red Hat Enterprise Linux is the world's leading enterprise platform, providing IT leaders the kind of stability that frees you to take on your biggest challenges now, the flexibility to do what's most important in the future, and an ecosystem of solutions and support that will be at your side no matter what. In case of stability and support, RHEL features a 10-year life cycle with ongoing support and updates from launch to retirement. Combined with our award-winning support offering, we can heavily reduce your efforts and costs of maintaining a large and mission-critical Linux environment. Security, just to mention it, beside a lot of powerful technologies which are part of RHEL and included in Satellite as well, the most important numbers here are 95 and 1. Red Hat fixes 95% of all critical security issues in Red Hat Enterprise Linux within 24 hours, which means 1 day. Besides the reliability features of RHEL and over 14,000 certification of different software and hardware environments, I would like to especially highlight the API compatibility or stability. This means application stability is maintained with API and API compatibility between Red Hat Enterprise Linux version upgrades. So this means you can without any fear upgrade over different minor releases without any impact on your overlaying binary and programming interfaces. The second part is Red Hat Satellite, our system management tool. It provides efficient deployment and management capabilities of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, including overall lifecycle management, automation, and also monitoring. Satellite incorporates full lifecycle management features, including system and application provisioning, configuration management, redeployment, and all this stuff is independent of if the system is virtualized or running on bare metal, and if bare metal independent of x86 power or Z series as well. It can manage every kind of Red Hat Enterprise Linux environment. Patch management is heavily simplified and automated with the ability to roll out patches to multiple servers with one click of the button. And it also includes a lot of different features regarding compliance management, security management, so you have a lot of verification and auditing capabilities which are included in Satellite. Also some monitoring capabilities. A recent IDC study comparing standardized Red Hat Enterprise Linux environments with both mixed and primarily non-paid Linux environments found that companies standardized on Red Hat Enterprise Linux experienced significant operational benefits. In terms of efficiency, IT departments standardizing on RHEL were able to manage 174 servers per administrator, 79% more than non-paid Linux environments. Higher user to administrator ratios were also observed, with Red Hat shops managing 422 users per administrator compared to 358 users per administrator for non-paid Linux shops. I will come back to these numbers later. In addition to managing more servers and users with smaller IT staff, application and virtual machine deployment times are cut roughly in half for those IT departments standardized on Red Hat Enterprise Linux as compared to both mixed and primary non-paid deployments. IT departments standardized on Red Hat Enterprise Linux can deploy a virtual machine in 24 minutes, half the time it takes mixed and non-paid Linux shops. Application deployment is also accelerated, with new applications ready for launch in 11 days compared to 19 days for mixed Linux environments and 23 days for non-paid Linux environments. I will provide you some better numbers even later. An important aspect, has it worked? Oh no. An important aspect if we are talking about mission-critical environment are downtimes, especially unplanned downtimes. IDC has compared the average downtime duration between these three types of environments. IT departments deploying Red Hat Enterprise Linux also spend 82% less time dealing with server downtime issues and 92% less time dealing with helpless issues than non-paid Linux distributions, allowing IT staff to spend more time focusing on really strategic business tasks. Another benefit of standardizing on Red Hat Enterprise Linux is improved IT responsiveness. Compared to mixed and non-paid Linux environments, IT departments standardized on Red Hat Enterprise Linux reduce application and virtual server deployment times by 50%, allowing for increased IT response to changing business needs. Overall business agility is improved, resulting in increased competitiveness. Many people believe that avoiding the subscription costs means lowering costs. Unfortunately, if we are talking about costs and we assume that we are talking about total cost of ownership, the subscription costs are not playing an important role to these costs anymore. So what IDC has found out, Red Hat Enterprise Linux actually delivers significantly lower total cost of ownership. Subscription costs are quickly recovered through higher IT efficiency and productivity. This adds up to reduced costs and improved TCO. Annual IT staffing and infrastructure costs per 100 users for Red Hat Enterprise Linux shops are half that of primarily non-paid Linux shops, while overall total cost of ownership per 100 user is reduced by 40%. These cost savings result in increased infrastructure value, contribute to the overall bottom line. So, coming back to the powerful combination of Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Satellite, to summarize this a little bit, this combination provides an ideal platform for standard operating environments with lower total cost of ownership and greater IT efficiency and productivity, adding to the bottom line and increasing business agility and competitiveness. Let's have a look at some customer examples I would like to talk about now. So, one of the customers I'm taking care about is ING-DiBa. It's the third largest retail bank in Germany with more than 8 million customers. Its offerings include a wide range of products, including savings, brokerage, customer loans, and current accounts. ING-DiBa runs both SAP and their complete online banking infrastructure on Red Hat JBoss middleware and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Originally, they have asked us to help regarding introducing Red Hat Enterprise Linux as their new operating system platform for their online banking environment. They've had not too much trust into Linux, and they wanted to use it only in very limited parts of their IT environment. But they have decided to migrate certain parts from Solaris to RHEL, and originally they wanted to migrate definitely not more than 250 servers from Solaris to RHEL. At this time, they've had only 25 unmanaged Linux servers. This means that there has been a note on each server, don't touch me, I don't know how to get it running back again. The bigger part of the infrastructure have been 100 physical Solaris servers virtualized with Solaris zones. What we have offered to ING-DiBa is a standard operating environment implementation, because based on our experience from similar projects, we have identified that our SOE offering is a perfect fit for a platform introduction, as it usually happens while a Unix to Linux migration. So let's talk about some numbers. ING-DiBa has migrated from physical SPARC Solaris system to only 40 HP servers running Red Hat Enterprise Linux on top of hardware. They have increased their virtualization ratio, and at the same time, they have heavily increased their scalability and automation capabilities. And all this stuff together with lowering their operational cost. And all the achievements you can see on this slide, they have done in a 1 year time frame. So the question is, how did they get there? If we are talking about the achievements we have or we have done at ING-DiBa, just to provide you some example numbers. ING-DiBa is able to handle a complete and complex change in their banking environment in less than 48 hours. They have a completely automated release testing, so they can test a new release of an operating system within 8 hours. They are able to deploy this new release completely automated to more than 1,200 servers in the meantime within 6 hours. So they are able to provide new releases to their operating system platform every 2 weeks, and actually they are doing it at least every 4 weeks. They have a very high admin to server ratio with 1 to 250. This is really an impressive number. And they are able to provision a lot of new servers within a few minutes. And one of the very powerful achievements we have done there is they have decided to migrate or to provide a new parallel banking environment for their mobile strategy, and they have been able to provision the full parallel banking environment within 3 days only, and only one sysadmin from ING-DiBa or one Linux guy has been involved in this provisioning. So this is very powerful numbers. And if we compare the numbers IDC has found out comparing these 3 different types of environments, and if we map it to the results we have achieved at ING-DiBa, then you can see that a Red Hat standard operating environment customer is even more powerful than the standard customer which is using Red Hat Enterprise Linux and probably Satellite at the same time, only without an SOE. So standardized hardware and software without a vendor login, and significant license and hardware maintenance cost reduction has been the key achievements of the ING-DiBa project. At the same time, high operational reliability and flexibility. And what they get acceptance and trust in Red Hat Enterprise Linux as their mission-critical platform for their online banking environment. Another quote from another customer is this sentence, just so that you can see that the ING-DiBa is not the only example what we have done in the past. So what we have identified during our projects is that there are 3 critical success factors. The first one is platform. You need a platform providing you stability, flexibility, and an ecosystem of solutions and support. Second one, you need tools to support the standardization and automation of your workflows and processes as much as possible to achieve an agility which supports your business needs. And the third one, a methodology and hopefully an experienced partner as well who can help you implementing such an efficient system management environment and provides you the methodology for fast and efficient migration. So what is our standard operating environment offering? At the end of the day, our SOE solution offering is a combination of our products, their core values like the API commitment I've mentioned earlier, our experience we've gained over the years in similar projects and customer environments, and a lot of good practices, open source and Red Hat best practices as well. So there are 5 key components, and this is the main part of this webinar. There are 5 key components of such an SOE implementation. The first one is standardization. The second one is architecture. The third one is automation. The fourth one is security and control. And the fifth one, which is very important as well, is knowledge. Typically, we are offering a lot of different work packages in these 5 areas, which are part of the implementation of an SOE offering. Since it's a modular concept which could be implemented step by step, and you can define your priorities, it's kind of a collaborative approach at the same time. And based on our experience from similar projects and customer environments, we can very precise calculate the efforts and costs of such kind of an implementation. Just to give you some examples, what are the main building blocks or work packages of such an SOE implementation? So this slide highlights a little bit some of the components or potential work packages we are covering, divided into the 5 components I have mentioned earlier. So as you can see, we are starting with standardizing the IT service or the IT system stack into different abstraction layer. Then we define the core build. Then we are standardizing the infrastructure build, the platform build, and later the workload build. In an automation area, we are starting an assessment phase, which is level 0, with an automation architecture proposal, and then step by step increase the automation capabilities in your environment. So starting with some basic automations and step by step more automation, and we are climbing up also the abstraction layer into the application area as well. So we have a lot of experience regarding integrating Satellite also with OpenShift offering that we can cover not only the infrastructure as a service part, but also the platform and software as a service part as well. Regarding security, we usually start with your requirements, which we usually discuss during the assessment phase, and step-by-step implement, starting from basic hardening up to very advanced and very complex security configuration in environments where this is required. And of course, we are adding also a lot of features and concepts regarding auditing and compliance management as well. So as you can see at this slide, step by step we can increase the capabilities in these different component areas. We have a lot of work packages which are part of these building blocks we can offer, and then you can decide together with us which is the most important building block for you, and then we help you to implement these building blocks step by step. So regarding a potential return of investment of a decision to use Red Hat Satellite for managing your Red Hat Enterprise Linux infrastructure, IDC has figured out some really impressive numbers. Building a standardized standard operating environment on Red Hat Enterprise Linux with Red Hat Satellite delivers business value and a return of investment. With a 3-year ROI of nearly 400%, drastically reduced infrastructure downtime, and dramatically increased IT productivity and efficiency, it's easy to choose Red Hat as your partner in standardization. One of the key outcomes of the IDC study has been the following sentence: standardized operating environments helps business operate effectively and efficiently. Red Hat solutions provide additional benefits such as improved TCO, better IT productivity, and increased agility to drive your business forward. Standardize with Red Hat and realize real business value. We have published some information regarding SOE, or also called Pathways Operational Efficiency, our Pathways offering, and the standardization of environments on our website. And on our website, you can also find the case study of our customer ING, describing the migration we have done there a little bit more in detail, and especially highlighting more the outcomes, which I haven't covered here in too much detail. So what about next steps? The next step could be that you simply talk to your Red Hat representative or your partner of choice, and don't hesitate to visit the link below. And this would finish the very fast go through the slides, and actually I would like to hand over back to Marty, and then probably we will answer some questions. Marty?
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, they can type them into the tool, and we can answer them as they come in.
Great, and we have some already, so why don't we just get started on what we've got here. And I guess I'll throw these out. Maybe, I don't know who wants to take the lead on each one, but maybe if both of you have a comment or two, that would be great. So let's just start. Here's one. So how much pre-planning should be happening before implementing satellite? And what type of services are available to help in that preparation?
Okay, I can take over this question. So usually we have a defined services offering for implementing Red Hat Satellite. So it's called Red Hat Satellite Quick Start. So it's a predefined offering which helps you to install and configure Satellite in the right way. But if you're interested in an SOE implementation, you simply have to talk with your solution architect, and he can provide you a lot of additional details, what we can offer, what are the potential building blocks or work packages in such an offering, where we can start, until which level we would like to go, and then we can really usually very fast define how long it takes and how much it costs. So you don't need too much preparation time.
All right. Next question. Security is an issue for my company. What certifications are in place by setting up a standardized environment?
Yeah, I can start this one off, I think, and Dirk can add to it if he wants. I don't know exactly what they mean by what sort of certifications are in place. What you can do with a standard operating environment, and in particular if you have a management tool like Satellite, is you can actually put in place particular procedures or processes that are required for particular certifications or security. And as a result of that, the Satellite and your standardized processes can help ensure that those certifications are met. So for example, I know we have a client that handles credit card information and thus are subject to the standards by the PCI standards, which are defined by the credit card industry. And they have to ensure that all of their systems maintain PCI compliance throughout. And they can actually do that with our satellite server and with the processes that they have with the standard operating environment, and that ensures that they don't ever get out of compliance and thus risk their certification with the credit card industry. Dirk, I don't know if you have more to add to that.
Yeah, I would like to add some stuff. So I had to handle a lot of different compliance requirements, so especially in the financial sector, and especially in Germany, we have, of course, a lot of regulation because we nearly regulate everything, and it's quite easy. Or no, it's not quite easy, but it's more easier to deal with different compliance requirements if you have this standardized and automated environment in place, because most of these requirements are talking about how can I handle security fixes, how can I provision security fixes to my environment, how can I handle these changes in a very short time frame, how can I track my software lifecycle, how can I detect that somebody has changed the configuration of my system, how can I detect that some security configurations are not in place anymore, and so on. And we have a lot of different technologies which are part of RHEL, helping you doing this, and they are extended by the capabilities of Satellite Server to automate these different tasks in a huge and complex environment as well. So especially I would like to highlight here the OpenSCAP implementation, which is part of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and which is also part of Red Hat Satellite. So you can define different security checks in your which have been deployed over the OpenSCAP tool over Satellite, and then you can simply display it. You can out of the box see what is the result of a risk calculation of your servers regarding the security updates of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So you have a lot of different capabilities, and that's why we have added this dedicated security and compliance management stream, because we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of concepts behind, so it's quite easy to handle. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. So a bit on the long side, but Kristen said if they're looking to build a VM environment, they wanted to know, can they have Red Hat Enterprise Linux as the host, and then use something else like a Windows environment for the VM servers being provisioned? And if that's possible, do you have any customers that are doing that?
I mean, absolutely. The virtualization capability built into Red Hat Enterprise Linux can host Windows virtual machines. We don't yet manage with Satellite those Windows machines, but I think if you follow some of the same rules that we have been espousing here for Linux on those Windows machines, namely deploy in a standard environment in a standardized way, have standardized processes, get a good management tool that helps you keep those machines in that consistent state, you can achieve similar results, although we haven't actually benchmarked that against Linux.
Okay. And the next one has to do with migration, and I think you touched on this in the case study, I believe, Dirk. But somebody wants to know, what about downtime as they migrate off of the older system over to a new environment? I mean, is there significant downtime involved?
Yeah. So simply to describe what this migration halt in this case halt means. So we are talking about an existing Linux server which should be migrated to the new SOE environment, and usually the downtime only depends on if a downtime is really required if you apply the updates which have been part of the COBOL definition or of the newly implemented security configuration or something like this. So usually we are defining with the COBOL and also with all the other deployment capabilities which are an outcome of an SOE, that you have some kind of blueprinting technology. And what you are doing while migrating is simply applying this blueprint to your existing systems. And if the update, which is part of this blueprint, requires, let's say, a reboot, then this is the only downtime you will have. And the advantage you will have beside this is that since we are defining this blueprint earlier, you can of course test if your application is able to run with this blueprint. So it's not a complex migration. It's simply applying a certain set of configuration and software levels to your existing systems. So usually there's nearly no risk.
Mm-hmm. Good. And then one more. We have time for one more here. This person says, I have disparate systems running various applications. Will satellite help me standardize what's running on each so I don't have different versions, security controls, etc.? So.
Yeah, Dirk, I think that's probably right up your alley. You can address that one.
Yeah. So this is two-dimensional, I think. So the first one is, if you are talking about the operating system, so the so-called COBOL, which include also the system management tool. The COBOL is the smallest common denominator, and the COBOL is similar, independent of the overlaying application. So you can easily standardize the operating system part with the COBOL offering. For the applications which are running on top of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, usually application deployments contain three elements. The first one is binary software deployment, which could be done with the software and RPM-based management capabilities of satellite. The second one is configuration management, which is a satellite feature as well. And the third one are usually actions, either before the deployment, so adding a new user or something like this, or after the deployment, like restarting a server or something like this. So based on the satellite capabilities, you can provision any kind of software stack which is running on top of RHEL if the software could be automatically deployed. So if you want to standardize them, you have to define a separate blueprint for this application stack which runs on top of the COBOL. And then you, of course, can do the same stuff you are doing with the COBOL with the applications as well.
Great. Well, I think we should start wrapping up. We're coming to the end of our time. I just wanted to thank everyone who joined us today. Everyone in the audience, thank you for participating. Marty and Dirk, thank you. Great presentation and a lot of good information. And before folks leave, we have a couple of things. As I mentioned earlier, you can download a copy of the slides if you haven't done that already. Just hit the Save to Folder icon. We have a short survey. If you could just provide some feedback with that, we appreciate it. If you want to revisit this presentation, a recorded version of the seminar will be available on our main site, eseminarslive.com. It should be up there within a day or so. Use the same login credentials you used today. If you want to refer a colleague to it, if they're not registered already, they can just sign up then and watch it at their leisure. If you like this topic, we at Quinn Street we have other seminars in the same vein. There's others by Red Hat. So if you want to just check the upcoming events section of the eseminarslive.com site, you can get some idea of what else is there. Hopefully you left today, I think, a great presentation again, like I said, Marty and Dirk, a lot of good information. Hope everyone had a good experience. And with that, I'll sign off. I do want to thank Red Hat for sponsoring this event, and for Quinn Street Enterprises, Sal Salamone. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks a lot.